Hey there, today I am sharing the new emotional support animal policy changes on airlines for your pet based on the United States Department of Transportation final ruling. The Department of Transportation and the airlines have changed the terminology for what an emotional support animal is, as well as what a service animal is going to be seen as now. In 2021, if you are trying to fly with an animal as an emotional support animal for free, these travel tips are for you. If you want to fly with a service animal, then this video will also help you know the new definition. I will also give you the most important tip for flying with your pet, along with some options near the end of the video, so stick around for that. I'm a Houston pilot wife sharing tips to help you travel the globe without a worry in the world. Click the bell beside subscribe if you want to receive a free travel tip video every week. I will also have a video that I'll link in the iCards and in the description box below about our experience flying with our dog and all the worries that you have to kind of make it easy for you to know what to expect. Know that I am not an employee of an airline or the airport or the Department of Transportation. I am just a wife. I'm sharing the news. I used to teach elementary school, so I want to make it clear to you so that you know how to research and then what to expect, because knowledge is power. If you bought airplane tickets for an emotional support animal before January 11th, on United Airlines and Delta Airlines, you can still travel with that animal, whatever it is. On United, as long as it's before February 28th, but you have to have bought the tickets before January 11th. And then on Delta's website, it doesn't say how long you can fly with that animal. There are two distinct changes that the Department of Transportation has made to the definition of emotional support animal. Number one, airlines are not using the title emotional support animal anymore. Those animals are now seen as a pet unless they are nationally trained as a service dog. The second rule is that the service animal must be a dog and it must be trained, it must be 4 months or older, and it must have the correct national paperwork signed 48 hours in advance with the airline, or on the day of, you have to go to the ticketing counter, so add like another hour to your time to be there early. The new trained service dog rules for airlines sound confusing to passengers at a glance. Basically, you can no longer take an emotional support goat, pig, or miniature pony. You can take an emotional support animal that is a trained service dog. If emotional support is your issue or your disability, then that dog will be trained to do work for you or actions for you in the way that he is trained as a service dog. And those disabilities are not limited to, but include deafness, visual impairment, seizures, mobility impairments, and PTSD. As long as you have the paperwork filled out, you can take that service dog as a service dog. So therapy animals who are trained to help with your emotional support are not considered service animals to airlines anymore. They would have to be considered trained service dogs. But if you want to take a pet as an emotional support pet, you can, you just have to pay for it. And that's where you as a passenger and a pet owner has to realize, okay, what can I afford? What do I need to pay for my son? I almost said son. What can I pay for my animal to be with me in the cabin or in the belly of the airplane versus what can I pay to board my pet? If you want to travel with your pet as emotional support in the cabin, you have to pay for that pet as a pet, and you have to obey the airline's rules for their pet policy. And I will list the airline policy links below. There are only certain pets that are allowed inside the cabin under the pet policy. So if you emotionally need a dog for your support inside an airplane, you just can't call it that. It has to be a trained service dog. The title of trained service dog has to be verified with the forms that I will link below. One of them is by the Department, they're both from the Department of Transportation, but it just has all of the signatures saying that it was trained. Remember, I'm going to give you options at the end. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I'm really just trying to make it simple to understand for you in your mind. In the United States, if you want to pay for a pet to be in the cabin with you, it's about $125. Most of the airlines say that the animal or the dog, cat, or bird has to fit in the seat's footprint. So you cannot have a dog that's larger than your seat footprint. That means when it's laying down, it is not going to be in the passenger beside you, their foot area. It cannot take up any of that room. It cannot stick out into the aisle if you have the aisle seat. You can also pay for your animal to be transported in the belly of the plane. That cost is a little more per how you customize it with your airline. I'm going to list some pet policies for most of the major airlines. And remember, if you say anything life-threatening or super ugly, I can hide you from my channel forever. So stay respectful and don't shoot the messenger or my other viewers. Here's our ancient pet carrier that we took our cat with us from when we moved from near DC to Houston. And it has to follow certain dimension requirements. The dog, cat, or bird has to fit in there and be able to turn around and lay down without protruding out the sides. I mean, that would be evil to do that anyway. And while you are in the boarding area and in the airplane, your pet is supposed to stay in the carrier for the entire flight and in the boarding area. And your pet carrier is supposed to fit under the airplane seat in front of you. But on the 50-seater airplanes, it does stick out from underneath the seat a little bit, but that's okay. It's still in my front or my footprint. My advice is to just Google your airline and pet policy or emotional support, animal, and that airline. Okay, here is where I would screenshot your research. We all know that there are bad employees, ugly, insensitive employees out there through airports, airlines. If you have the proof in writing that this animal size is allowed or this carrier is allowed, you can show it calmly to the supervisor that you asked to speak with. Unfortunately, these strict rules are because a very few amount of pet owners have abused the rule. And because safety is number one, there are just so many allergies that are out there that airlines are protecting the passengers too. It's like having a child and your child is the one that's allergic to like everything when it's time to bring snacks into school. Now, pretty much in elementary school, parents can't bring snacks that they've made for class parties. You have to buy the individually wrapped things because of allergies. And because of the unpredictable nature of animals, because they are animals, airlines do have the right, and it is in writing, that they have the right to refuse transportation to your animal if it is not following their policies. Some examples of what your dog, cat, or bird may do that would make them be able to refuse transport of your animal even if you've gotten in the airplane are biting, jumping on staff or passengers, eating off the tray table, excessive barking, if it relieves itself at the boarding area or inside the airplane, and if it growls, they can refuse to transport your animal. It really is like having a child. Now, there's one thing I thought of that you might think is new. If you are now in 2021 flying with a dog, cat, or bird, you now have to also fill out the relief attestation form. And that is for a long haul flight only. That is 8 hours or over. You have to sign a form attesting to the fact that you know your dog, cat, or bird will not relieve themselves in the airplane in their carrier. Or the other part of that rule is that your animal knows how to relieve themselves in a sanitary way. We did take, when our dog was a puppy, the puddle pads, and I like these puddle pads because they have little sticky things on the bottom, but we ended up not using them. But you can take your dog or cat to the lavatory if they would use the restroom sanitarily on that puddle pad. That's an option for you. But like I said, I will list that form and the other Department of Transportation form that has to be signed if it's a trained service dog. Another sanitary way for your dog to relieve herself in the airplane is to put her in a diaper. Instead of fighting with the new rule, just weigh your options and what you can afford, mentally, emotionally, and monetarily. So I'm going to list some options for you if you find out that you cannot fly with your emotional support animal. We have taken our dog to Pet Paradise before a trip. Pet Paradise are doggy and cat boarding areas that are located near airports, mostly in the southern part of the United States. They're awesome. We have had the same staff members there for probably 3 years now here in Houston. They have pools, they have life vests for your dogs, they have individual indoor and outdoor stalls for them, and they do a play well with other trial run the first time you want to take them to see if they can play with others. If they can't, they customize it and have playtime just with your dog. We've also used the dog sitter and boarding app called Rover. We found out this lady lived like a mile from us. Another option is to drive. Take your animal on a car trip. You have that emotional support. You have the safety of knowing where they are. They can relieve themselves wherever they want to. And you can take the food in however many bags you need to carry. But you have options. Remember that. You always have options. One thing that worked for us is we worked closely with our veterinarian to give him the right medicine to help him relax. Just a chill pill. And we tested it out a couple of months in advance to see how he responded to that appropriate drug amount. The vet nor the airlines will allow your dog to be comatose to be in the cabin with you, but they will help you find the right amount of drug for that weight of an animal to help him relax. We used one for our cat. Woo! We had the wrong amount at the beginning and he could barely make it down the stairs. It was so funny. So we lessened that amount. And then with our dog, it was the appropriate amount. I could actually give him more to help him chill. I hope my explanation helped you understand your options and more of what the rules mean. But I will list the links for a couple of airlines down below. A big hug from me to you, from Ollie to you and your travel companion. Thanks for your time.